There's a split second where people stop taking you seriously, and almost no one notices it. There's no conflict, no mistake, no obvious signal. Everything looks normal, but something changes. Subtle, silent, immediate. The way people listen to you shifts. The way they respond feels different. And from that moment on, your words don't carry the same weight. Not because you said something wrong, but because of something almost invisible in how you said it. And once it happens, you're no longer controlling the interaction. You're reacting to it.
It usually starts in a moment that feels completely normal. You're in a conversation, maybe at work, maybe with someone you respect. You say something, clear, direct, well put. And for a second, everything is fine. Then something small happens. Someone questions you, or takes your point a little differently than you expected. Not aggressively, not like a challenge, just enough to create a slight tension. And in that exact moment, something automatic kicks in. You start adding more explanation, more detail, more context. You expand your point, trying to make it clearer, stronger, impossible to misinterpret. In your mind, you're doing the right thing. You're being precise, professional, careful with your words. You don't want confusion. You don't want to be misunderstood. So you keep going, just a little more. And right there, without realizing it, something begins to shift. Not in what you're saying, but in how it's being received. The problem isn't what you said. It's what came after. The moment you go beyond what was necessary, your message starts to change. You're no longer just expressing a point. Now, you're trying to make sure it's accepted. And that shift is everything. Because your tone changes. Your delivery gets heavier. Your energy becomes slightly reactive.
And people pick up on that instantly. Not consciously, but instinctively. Because in every interaction, people aren't just listening to your words. They're reading how certain you are while saying them. They're reading your confidence, your stability, your level of control. And the moment you start over-explaining, you send a very specific signal that what you said might not be enough on its own, that it needs support. And the second your words feel like they need support, they lose strength. And when your words lose that sense of strength, people don't process them the same way. They start evaluating them. They listen differently, not to understand, but to check if what you're saying actually holds up. And that's where everything begins to shift. You get interrupted more easily. People question your points more often. They don't always wait for you to finish, even when what you're saying is right. And it feels confusing, because from your perspective, you're being clear, you're being detailed, you're making sure everything makes sense. But from their perspective, you're signaling something else, that your message needs reinforcement.
And anything that needs reinforcement invites scrutiny. Not because people are against you, but because that's how perception works. Certainty feels complete. And anything that doesn't feel complete gets tested. And the moment that happens, you stop leading the interaction and start trying to hold on to it. Over time, this stops being just a moment. It becomes a pattern. And once it becomes a pattern, people start expecting it. They expect you to explain more, to justify your point, to keep going beyond what's necessary. And because of that, they start listening differently from the start. Not to understand, but to evaluate, to find gaps, to find weaknesses, to decide if what you're saying actually holds up. And the most subtle part of all, they give you less space. They interrupt sooner. They challenge faster. Because unconsciously, they no longer expect your message to be complete. They expect it to be adjusted while you speak. And that creates a strange loop. Because the more you feel that pressure, the more you try to fix it. By explaining better, adding more clarity, going deeper. But that only makes it worse. Because the more you try to prove your point, the more it feels like it needs proof. And without realizing it, you get stuck in a cycle most people never escape.
So where does this come from? It comes from one thing: the need to be understood. And on the surface, that sounds right. Of course you want to be understood. But the moment that need takes over, it stops being about clarity and starts becoming about approval. And that's where everything changes. You're no longer just expressing your point. You're trying to make sure it's accepted. And people feel that difference instantly. Because when someone is trying to convince you, you naturally create distance. It's instinct. So the more you try to make your point land perfectly, the harder it actually lands. But this is where everything shifts. Because once you see this clearly, you gain control over something most people never do: how your presence is felt. And the shift is simple, but uncomfortable. The next time you make a point, say it once and stop. No second sentence, no extra explanation. No, just to make sure. Let it stand on its own. At first, it will feel wrong. You'll feel the urge to keep going, to explain more, to reinforce, to adjust. But that urge is exactly where you've been losing control. And every time you resist it, something changes. Your words feel more grounded. Your delivery becomes more stable.